What do you know about Grand Central, one of the most iconic places to visit in New York City? Hello my friends, I'm standing at the front of Grand Central, one of the most famous and well-known landmarks of New York City. Today all about famous Grand Central, surprising facts and Polish twist. New York City, the famous Grand Central Terminal. If New York City has a heartbeat, this is it. People rush to here every day. Commuters, tourists, lost travelers and New Yorkers who pretend they are not as impressed, even though everyone is impressed. Because Grand Central Terminal is impressive. If you are visiting New York City, Grand Central is one of those places that you must see. But before we go inside, let's see exterior. Let's see how it looks outside. Grand Central Terminal sits in the very heart of Manhattan, right at 42nd Street and Park Avenue. It's one of the most strategic locations in all of New York City. The terminal was designed to connect every direction the city was expanding. North towards Westchester, east towards Connecticut, and south into Midtown and downtown. Step outside onto 42nd Street and you immediately feel how central this place is. On one side you have the iconic Chrysler Building. On the other, just a few steps away, begins the elegant stretch of Park Avenue. And from this also famous and expensive Park Avenue, I wanted to say special greetings to all 8th grade students from Dobra. Pozdrawiam. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. First interesting fact. Grand Central doesn't sit on typical foundations. Beneath it lies a massive network of tunnels and platforms, which is why Park Avenue is elevated. So cars drive above the tracks, separating pedestrian, car and train traffic. It was rather revolutionary urban planning in 1913 when terminal was opened. In general, for tourists, it's a landmark. For locals, a daily stop. For urban designers, one of the best planned transportation hubs in the world. If you want to understand New York, start right here. Grand Central is a blend of art, engineering and ambition. A building meant to show the world that New York could be not only practical but also beautiful and timeless. But before we'll continue, let's clear one thing up. Grand Central is not a train station, it's a terminal. A station is where trains pass through, a terminal is where they end. So if someone, usually visitors and tourists, say Grand Central Station, a real New Yorker will correct them. But you don't have to worry, because now you know. And worst case scenario, unlike this stone-faced guy, New Yorker will smile politely, because honestly half of non-New Yorkers, Americans, say it wrong too. Going back to what we see, when you walk into the main concourse, the first thing you notice is the ceiling. That turquoise sky with golden constellations. It looks like a piece of the universe trapped inside of the train station. Did I say train station? If you didn't notice, I gotcha. I wanted to say inside of terminal. But going back to the ceiling. Fun fact, the constellations are actually painted backwards. The artist followed a medieval manuscript that showed the sky from God's point of view, not from Earth. First, New Yorkers complained, of course. But the city said, it's art, relax. And that's New York in one sentence. But enough about the ceiling. Now let us talk about the numbers that make your head spin. As you can imagine, Grand Central is one of the busiest buildings in the United States. For start, let me tell you that 750,000 people pass through here on a normal day. Yes, that's quite close to 1 million. Or, to help your imagination, that's more than entire population of Kraków. The entire building has 44 platforms. the most of any station in the world, and 67 tracks hidden underground on 2 levels. The terminal covers 48 acres, basically a small Polish town, but vertical. And here is the crazy part. Most of the action happens underground, where you never see it. And what you see now is Grand Central Food Court. And although probably I make you hungry, we'll talk now about the history of Grand Central. Grand Central opened in 1913, during a time when New York wanted to prove it was the capital of the modern world. But the story starts earlier with Cornelius Vanderbilt, the railroad tycoon. He built the first version of Grand Central in the 1870s when trains were still steam-powered and Manhattan was covered in soot. Hence, people hated it. The smoke was so thick that passengers fainted on the platforms. But let's stop this history lesson for a moment. Did you know that in the center of New York, in Grand Central, you could have pretty good pierogi? And yes, you can see that the restaurant is Ukrainian restaurant Veselka, but pierogi, believe me, are Polish. And how do I know? Because it happens that I know a very nice Polish lady who is preparing those pierogi. But again, I am feeling very guilty now because now for sure you're hungry. So let's go back to the history of Grand Central. As you probably recall, during the first version of Grand Central in the 1870s, the smoke was so thick that passengers fainted on the platforms. So the city made a decision that changed everything. No more steam trains in Manhattan. Everything had to be electric. That forced the construction of a brand new terminal, the Grand Central we know today. And that decision shaped the entire city. Park Avenue exists because the old tracks were buried underground. Without Grand Central, Manhattan would look completely different. And now, a few more interesting facts about Grand Central. One of the coolest secrets here is the Whispering Gallery. Whispering Gallery is a curved hallway near the Oyster Bar. Imagine, if you stand in one corner and whisper into the wall, someone standing diagonally across can hear you perfectly, even if the place is full of people. So, couples propose here, kids test it out. New Yorkers pretend that they don't care, but they always try it when nobody's watching. Another interesting thing in Grand Central is the clock. In the center of the main concourse stands the famous four-faced clock. It is the most popular meeting point in New York. If someone says, "Meet me at the clock," they mean this one. The clock is valued at $10 to $20 million because each face is made of opal. Imagine being late for the date and standing under a 20 million clock, only in New York. Another fact, you remember blue sky ceiling from the beginning of this video. So, well, in the 1990s the ceiling was black, completely black. People thought it was from the train smoke. Turns out it was nicotine, decades of cigarette smoke from commuters. When they cleaned it, they left one small dark patch on purpose, as a reminder of what the whole ceiling used to look like. Kind of a little New York before and after. As you can see on this video, today Grand Central is not just a transportation hub. It is a shopping center, a restaurant district, a tourist attraction, and a piece of living history. You probably did notice there is even an Apple store on the balcony. Only in New York City, at least in US. You can buy $2,000 laptop inside of 110-year-old train terminal. And going back to Grand Central as a transportation hub, very soon Grand Central will connect to the Long Island Railroad through the new East Side Access Project, something New Yorkers have been waiting for since the 1960s. And since we landed in 1960s, let's move even earlier to beginning of the 20th century. You may not know, but in the early 20th century, thousands of Polish immigrants arrived in New York and passed through Grand Central on their way to jobs in factories, steel mills, and construction sites. So, as you can see, there are more connections between Polish history and culture than just pierogi. And maybe that's a good moment to leave you alone with Grand Central. I don't want for my comments and facts, even if they are interesting, to distract you. So for the next 5 minutes, you can walk alone and admire and contemplate this magnificent building. But be careful and please don't get lost, because I want you to meet me in 5 minutes at the clock. You remember? At the clock. But meanwhile, enjoy your walk. How did you like our tour? If you would like to see some more interesting places from New York, please leave a comment and let me know. See you!